Good afternoon, everyone. Please switch on your cameras, all of you. Aditi Singh, Ritika, Kavyansh, Medha, Sakshi Shrivastava. Switch on your cameras, please, all of you. Medha, Astha Singh, Kavyansh. So as you all know, we were doing the chapter partnership, and in that we have completed the meaning and definition of partnership. Then we have also done about the features of partnership. Then we did about partnership deed, that is the agreement between the partners. And I hope that you all remember very well that what is this partnership deed. So the partnership business, it is the relationship between two or more than two persons who have agreed to share the profit of the business carried on by all or any one of them acting for all. Okay. It is registered under Indian Partnership Act 1932. But as per the law, it is not compulsory to have it registered. It may be registered, it may not be registered. It may be registered at the time of formation or after a certain period of time after the formation, it can go for registration process. The agreement between the partners, it is not compulsory that it should be in writing only, it can be oral also. The act has not made it compulsory to have a written agreement between the partners. But it is better to have the written agreement to avoid the disputes among the partners. Okay. So it is better to have it a written agreement. So for that, we have studied about the partnership deed. And in that, you have seen that it is a document that contains the terms and conditions related to partnership among the partners. Okay. And all those terms and conditions in that agreement, it is in writing and it is duly signed by all the partners, stamped and registered. Okay. Then it also defines the rights, duties, obligations of the partners in the deed. And any changes, if that is to be made, that is to be made only after the consent of all the partners. This partnership deed agreement, that will be conclusive proof, okay, of a partnership business among the partners, and it can be used as a conclusive proof to file a case in the court. Okay. So this is about the partnership deed. We did several contents of partnership deed also, like what is the nature of the business, what is the place of the business, name of the firm, principal place of the business where it carries on, duration of partnership, names and addresses of the partners, their profit sharing ratio, how much amount they have contributed, how much amount they have withdrawn, the rate of interest related to those things. So many things are there, mode of goodwill valuation, many things we have done in the contents. Then we also discussed about the registration of partnership. What is the procedure for registration of partnership? An application form is to be filed up with the registrar. Okay. At the place where the registered office of that partnership business is situated. In that city, it has to be registered. Okay. Then that application should contain certain points over there in that application. And what are these things? The name of the firm, the principal place of the firm, the names of other places where firm carried on its business, the name and addresses of all the partners in full, the date on which each partner has joined the firm, and the duration of partnership, if any. So all these should be there in that form, in that application, and along with all these informations that has to be filed up with the registrar along with the fees. A nominal charge is there that is to be deposited, and if the registrar, he verifies it, and all these know that has to be signed. This application form is to be signed and verified by each partner also, and then only it is to be submitted to the registrar office. When the registrar receives, okay, he verifies all the important informations are there or not. And once he is satisfied, then he registers the name of this firm in his register and provides a certificate of registration. Okay. So this was the procedure for registration. Now, there are certain provisions that you will have to understand, that if the firm is not registered, then what are the benefits which the firm cannot avail? Okay, these are called as consequences of non-registration. Means if a firm is not registered, then what are the things, what are the privileges that will not be available with the partnership firm? Okay, so the first part under this consequences of non-registration, we will study that only. You can see there are 5 points given. And in the first point, what it is stated? It is written, it cannot enforce its claims. What is it? What is it? Partnership firm. It means what? Partnership firm. Write it over there. Many students, you all, what? You all mix up and then you all write. It's beyond my expectations. And I get so many new answers that I have never read about. So please, you write it over there. Here it means the partnership firm. Okay. So a partnership firm cannot enforce its claim against a third party in the court of law. If the partnership firm is unregistered, then a partnership firm cannot file a case in the court against any of the third party. Okay, any third party means the outsider. Suppose there are many contracts and agreements with the outsiders also, no? Suppliers, investors, distributors, many are there. Those who are related with the business. So if they are involved in any type of malpractices, illegal activities, so a partnership firm cannot file. If it is unregistered, then that unregistered partnership firm cannot file a case in a court against that third party. So here it means the unregistered partnership firm. Okay, unregistered partnership firm. You also add unregistered partnership firm. Okay, an unregistered partnership firm. Then the second one states that it cannot, means the unregistered partnership firm cannot claim adjustment for any sum of rupees exceeding rupees 100. If there is a fraud of the amount more than 100 rupees, in that situation, the unregistered partnership firm cannot claim. Okay, the unregistered firm cannot claim. The firm cannot enforce adjustments in the court. Only up to rupees 100 only. So who will go up to rupees 100? It's a very small amount, no, up to rupees 100 only. And if it is more than 100, they have kept all these clauses, no, in such a way that in other form, if you will see, it makes the firm registration compulsory, isn't it? They provide all these facilities only if the firm is registered. That if there is any type of dispute, okay, any type of problem related to the capital money, okay, if it is of more than 100 rupees, then an unregistered firm cannot claim and cannot go to the court. Okay, only if it is up to 100, then only they can claim. Then the third point, I think these 2 points are clear. An unregistered firm cannot file a case against the third party. Even an unregistered firm cannot claim okay, for the adjustment of any sum of money exceeding rupees 100. Then the third point, an unregistered firm cannot file a case against any of its partners. First, it cannot file a case against the third party. Now, this is also attached along with this unregistered partnership firm, that even the unregistered partnership firm, it cannot file a case against any of its partners. If any of the partner indulge himself in any of these illegal activities, so the partnership firm cannot file a case against this activity of that partner, because it is unregistered. Okay. Then the fourth point, partners of an unregistered firm cannot file any suit to enforce a right against the firm. See, an unregistered firm cannot file a case against any of its partners, and any of its partners also will not be able to file a case against the unregistered partnership firm. Means both each other, neither the partnership firm nor the partners on each other, they cannot file a case, okay, in case of dispute, okay, in case of any problem, they cannot file a case on each other if the partnership firm is unregistered. I hope it is clear. These 2 points are clear. Means third point means a partnership firm cannot file a case against any of its partners. Then the fourth point states that all the partners of the partnership firm, they cannot file a case against the partnership firm. Okay. And the fifth point, you see, the partners of an unregistered firm cannot file a case against another partner. Okay. The members, those who are there as a partner in the partnership firm, if they are the members of the unregistered partnership firm, and if they are not happy with any of the partner activity, they cannot file a case against that partner. Means a partner cannot file a case against a partner. A partner cannot file a case against the firm. A partnership firm cannot file a case against the partner. A partnership firm cannot file a case against the third party also. Okay, so these are the several conditions which are applicable if the partnership firm is not registered. That is why it is better to have it registered. I hope it is clear, all these 5 points. Okay, please make a note of it. All these things you have to remember. Okay. Now, there are other points also, that what are the several points where non-registration is not going to affect. There will be no effect if the partnership firm is not registered. Okay, there are several points. And what are the points? The right of a partner to sue for the dissolution of the firm. Sue for the dissolution of the firm, or for the accounts of a dissolved firm, or to enforce any right or power to realize the property of the dissolved firm. That can be done even if the firm is unregistered. Means the right of the partner to sue for the dissolution of the, there is, dissolution of the firm can be done in the court. And the dissolution of the partnership firm is very easily done. It is done by the consent of all the partners. So for that, registration is not compulsory. Okay. And one more point, it was stated that registration doesn't impart the separate legal existence of the partnership firm. This you all have noted down or not? If you have not written, it was there in the book. I told you to underline when we were doing registration procedure, the last line of the registration procedure written. Registration does not provide a legal entity to the partnership firm. Okay, it doesn't mean that it after registration it will attain a feature of that is separate legal entity and nobody can bring that to an end. No. Still, it can be dissolved by consent of all the partners, or any one partner, if he wants, he can get the firm dissolved. Okay. So for the dissolving, they can go to the court and that can be dissolved and the properties can be realized. If it is not registered, then also. Then the second one is the power of an official assignee or receiver to realize the property of an insolvent partner. Means there will be no effect on the power of the official assignee or receiver who is going to realize the property of an insolvent partner. Okay. See, when the firm get dissolved, then the property of the insolvent partner, okay, that is realized and it is distributed. So the power of an official assignee, okay, or the receiver to realize that there is no change in that, if the firm is registered or firm is not registered. Then the third is the rights of the firm or its partners having no place of business in India. There are certain places, there are certain businesses which are conducted out of India. So if that is the situation, the rights of the firm or its partners having no place of business in India. Okay, if it is not having any place of business in India, so that cannot be sued. That cannot be, their rights are not affected. Then any suit or set off in which the claim does not exceed rupees 100. We have already done point number 2. Means it can, when we saw that the consequences of non-registration, means only up to 100 the claim can be made. 100 rupees. If the dispute is related to 100 rupees, then only it can be made if the firm is unregistered. So there will be no effect up to rupees 100. The claim can be made. Okay. Then the fifth one is the right of the third party to sue the unregistered firm or its partners. See, the partnership firm, yes, Ayushi.
Good afternoon, Miss.
Good afternoon.
Miss, can you explain point number 2?
Point number
2.
2.
Yes,
See,
Miss.
whenever any partner gets insolvent, there is an official officer who is assigned, okay, to recover the property, of that partner. You have seen, no, that even the personal property of the partner can be taken up, no, to pay the dues. So here it is stated that if the firm is unregistered, there will be no effect on the power of that official officer who is assigned the duty, who has been assigned the duty, okay, to realize the property, okay, of the insolvent partners. So there will be no effect on that power. That is called as over here. That is, there will be no effect if the firm is unregistered. Then also the same power he will get to realize the property. Okay, I think.
Okay, thank you, Miss.
Then you have seen, no, if the firm is unregistered, then the partnership firm cannot file a case against the third party. It was so, na? It was according to that if it is unregistered. But if the firm is unregistered, the third party can file a case against an unregistered firm. I think it is clear. There will be no effect if the firm is registered or unregistered. Okay, there will be no effect. And the third party can file a case against the unregistered partnership. Okay, I think it is clear. Then the right to sue a third party for infringement of a patent right. Infringement means breaking the law. You can write over there the last point. Infringement. It is given a word. Infringement means that is the word that is being used in the court. Okay, court language it is. That is to break the law. Infringement, that is to break the law. Patent right, you all know? Patent right, you all know? Patent right? Sorry, what is patent right?
Right related to shape, size, color.
Yes, that is correct. That there are certain products which are produced by the company. It has definite shape, color, size. So the right is acquired. That is called as patent right, so that anybody else cannot copy that and produce a duplicate products. Okay. So this is called as patent right. So here the right to sue a third party, in which category, in which case the unregistered firm can file a case against the third party if there is breaking of the law, okay, of the patent right. If any third party has broken the law related to that patent right, in that condition, the unregistered firm can file a case against that third party. In other situations, an unregistered firm cannot file a case against the third party. So I hope all these points are clear to you. Please read it twice, thrice. Still you have a lot of time, okay? And if any of the points, if you are not understanding, which is not clear to you, please mark over there and you can ask me once again, okay? So this was all about the registration of partnership firm. Though it is not compulsory, but you have seen that what are the facilities that a partnership firm can avail if the partnership firm is registered. Okay, so it is better to have it registered. Now, the next step related to this is types of partnership. There are types of partners as well as types of partnership, and both are in the syllabus. Types of partners and types of partnership, both. Now, how many types of partners are there? Sorry, partnership is there. General partnership. Limited liability partnership. Partnership at will. So over here, if you will see, there are 4 types of partnership. Number 1, that is general partnership. Number 2, it is limited liability partnership. Number 3, it is partnership at will. And number 4, it is particular partnership. Now, let us start with general partnership. You have studied partnership, okay, the features of partnership. When we started this chapter, then we have done the meaning of partnership, the characteristics of partnership. So that is called as general partnership. Whatever till now, whatever we have studied, that we have studied on the basis of general partnership, where there is a relationship between 2 or more than 2 persons. Okay. And there the liability of the members are unlimited. The liabilities of the members are unlimited. That already we have done. Okay. So here you can see in the general partnership, the liability of each partner is unlimited. It means that the firm's creditors can realize their dues in full from any of the partners by attaching their personal property if the firm's assets are found to be inadequate to pay off its debts. It is explaining the meaning of unlimited liability, which I have already explained you. Okay. So till now, whatever we have done, that is about the general partnership, which you know very well. Then you can see what it is written. An exception is made in the case of minor partner whose liability is limited to the amount of share in his capital and profits of the firm. Already I have told you, if you remember, that the minor partner is not responsible for the losses. He is only responsible for the profit, and his liability will be limited. It means what? He is responsible only for the profits and not for the losses. It means what? His liability is limited, not unlimited. Okay. Then in India, all partnership firms are general partnership. Each partner of a general partnership is entitled to take active part in the management of the firm, unless otherwise decided by other partners. Almost all the partnership firm in India, they are general partnership. Like you can say the Reliance Industries, okay, this Oil and Natural Gas Corporation, SBI, State Bank of India, then ICICI Bank. What are these? These are partnership business. Okay. So mostly the business in India are based on general partnership. Okay. And here each partner has the full right and is entitled to take the active part in the management, and normally they take. Unless and until there is any condition related to that any one person can act for. And this privilege is there under the general partnership, that any one person can act for all also. Okay. So this is about the general partnership, what we have done till now, that it is the relationship between two or more than two partners. And you know, one more thing which is not mentioned over here, related to the number of members. Whatever the law has prescribed related to the number of members, the general partnership will follow those number of members, the rules related to those number of members. Okay. It is clear, which is not in the case of limited liability partnership. Now, I think this general partnership is clear to everybody. Okay. Same as related to the number of members, unlimited liability. Okay. Even the personal property of the partners can be used. It is all a part of general partnership. Now, limited liability partnership. Okay. Limited liability partnership. Now, yes, I will tell you one by one. Please switch on your cameras, all those who are sleeping. Most of you have not switched on your cameras. Please switch it on, or otherwise leave. Okay. No need to study without switching on the camera. Okay. Unless and until you have any specific reason for that. So here, limited liability partnership. Yes, Shambhavi, read the first point. Right, you start from the beginning and read the first point.
Limited partnership is now allowed in India under the Limited Liability Partnership Act 2008. The chief characteristics of a limited liability partnership are as follows. A limited liability partnership must be registered under the Act with a minimum of 2 partners. There is no limit on the maximum number of partners.
Yes, this is the very first point. Okay, I told you no that limited liability partnership, it is governed under which act? It doesn't govern under Indian Partnership Act 1932, but it is governed under Indian Partnership Act, Limited Liability Partnership Act 2008. Okay, it is not necessary to write. Okay, if it will be asked what is limited liability partnership, you don't have to write that it is governed under this act 2008. It is not compulsory to be written. You are not going to get any marks on this, but for your knowledge you should know. Okay, what are the chief characteristics about it? It is being given below. And what is the first characteristics? To form a limited liability partnership, minimum 2 members should be there and maximum no limit. Maximum there is no limit. This limited liability partnership has got the characteristics of partnership business also and has got the characteristics of company form of organization also. In company form of organization, there is no limit on the maximum number of members. Okay, so here minimum 2, maximum there is no limit. And I have already told you that in general partnership, the number of members must be applicable according to the law. The rules related to number of members, it must be applicable related to the law. Then Medha, you read the second point.
An LLP is a body corporation having a separate legal entity and perpetual succession.
Okay, what do you mean by this? A limited liability partnership is a body corporate, okay, having a separate legal entity and perpetual succession. What is the meaning of this? What is the meaning of this? I think it is different from the features of general partnership. I think it is different now. We have not studied this feature under the general partnership. Did we study? When we were studying about the characteristics of general partnership, did we study this? That it has a separate legal entity? It is written that it hasn't got the separate legal entity, isn't it? The general partnership. But it is said that the limited liability partnership, they have got the features of separate legal entity due to which it has the perpetual succession. Separate legal entity means separate existence. This limited liability partnership is independent of its members. It has got its independent existence. If all the members, they die, then also the partnership firm will exist. That is why it has got a perpetual, means everlasting existence. Okay, it never comes to an end. And this is one of the feature of company form of organization. Okay. So you can see that limited liability partnership, it contains most of the features of company form of organization. Okay. Yes, Astha Singh, you read the third point.
In a LLP, the liability of partners is limited to their agreed contribution to the LLP. No partner would be liable on account of any unauthorized or independent action of other partners.
Okay, so what did you understand?
That no partner would be liable that he has any other partner. Okay. Means that no partner is liable to any other partner.
Partner is liable. What does this
To any
this
on
mean?
account of any other partner. Million of creating.
Here it is talking that it doesn't no other partner. Over here, you can see that it states that the limited liability partnership has got the liability of the members limited. As the name indicates. What is the name of this partnership? Limited liability partnership. Means the liability of the partners are not unlimited. It is limited. To what extent? It is limited to the extent of the contribution that has been decided in the beginning only. Suppose if I have stated that, okay, if anything goes wrong, I will give 50,000, not more than this. So my liability will be only of 50,000. If anything goes wrong, I will pay only 50,000, not more than this. My personal property cannot be taken into consideration. It cannot be taken up for paying the dues. Okay, so this states that the partnership, the liability of the partnership under limited liability partnership is limited to the agreed contribution to the limited liability partnership. How much they have agreed to contribute. Is it clear to everybody? And no partner can deny for that. And extra cannot be recovered from that particular partner by any other partner. Is it clear? Then fourth one. Zoya, you read. First, unmute yourself. Your voice is not coming. Your voice is not coming. So yeah, every time you are facing the same problem. Here from here, I have unmuted you. Check your mobile phone or whatever system with which you are studying. Please check it. Joy, just you read.
An NLP must maintain annual accounts reflecting the true and fair view of its states of affairs.
So what is that?
LLP must maintain the reflecting view of the state's affair.
What is LLP?
It's limited liability partnership.
Yes, limited liability partnership. What they have to do?
Maintain the true and fair view of the states of affairs.
So here it is compulsory for the limited liability partnership to prepare their account books. Okay. And what is written? The true and fair view of its state of affairs means they have to get it audited and investigated by the chartered accountants, and they have to get that report. Okay. It is compulsory for them, which is not compulsory in the case of general partnership. Then fifth one. Sakshi Srivastav, you read. Sixth one.
The liability of partners and the firm would become unlimited in the case firm or the partners or its partner carry out any act with the intention to defraud the creditors or any other persons or for any fraudulent purpose.
So what did you understand by this point? Fifth one. What did you understand by this fifth one? Did you understand anything out of this fifth point? At least something you can speak up. What happened? It's total blackout. Okay, no problem. I will explain. Generally, it is said that the liability of the limited liability partnership business, the liability of the members are limited to the agreed amount, what they have agreed to pay, contribute in the beginning. Okay. But here it is stated that there are certain conditions where the liability of the limited liability partners also can become unlimited in case where any of the partner is indulged in any type of illegal, fraudulent practices, malpractices, and with the intention to defraud the creditors. If that is the condition and intentionally he is involved in these types of malpractices, then in that situation, the liability of all the partners will be unlimited, and even their personal property will be taken up to pay the dues. Because here it will be stated as that intentionally they are doing fraud and they are engaged in any of the illegal activity. Okay, so if the activity will be illegal, then the liability of the partnership firm that is under limited liability partnership, that will become unlimited. Then the sixth one, Ankit, you read sixth one.
Thus, LLP is a hybrid form of business organization combining features of both partnership firm and joint stock company. LLP is a different form, limited partnership. In LLP, the liabilities of all partners is limited, but in limited partnership, at least one partner has unlimited liability.
So what did you understand by this? What did you understand by this? Why it is called as hybrid form of business organization? You can get a question. Why the limited liability partnership is called as hybrid form of business organization? So what you will write? Hybrid means mixture of two. That is, it has the features of joint stock company as well as partnership. That is why it is called as hybrid form of business organization. And you will state both features and you will justify your answer. And already we have done. Okay, regarding that. So did you see what are the features under this limited liability partnership? It contains the features of both the partnership firm as well as the features of joint stock company. That is why it is called as hybrid form of business organization. Yes. Yes, I will.
Ma'am, over here it is written limited partnership, at least one person has unlimited liabilities.
At least?
So, at least one partner has unlimited liabilities.
Yes, at least one partner has unlimited liability. In case over here it is written no intention to defraud and all that in that situation. So in that situation, it will become no unlimited liability. But there can be the provisions. There can be the provisions. Here in my book, that provision is not mentioned because in the beginning it was not like that. So maybe they would have started that at least one partner can have this unlimited liability. But how that is possible? Maybe the capital contribution that of that partner that is less or limited or something like that. So that is why we are not mentioning those things clearly, that who will have that unlimited liability. Because normally you can see these types of features, these type of partnership firm, we are not having over here in India. That is not applicable more and more. And if you see, only in case of the fraud or a type of illegal activities, only in that situation, only the liability of the partners becomes unlimited. If in the beginning only it is already stated in unlimited liability, you have seen, no, liability of the partners is limited to the agreed contribution to the limited liability. No partner will be liable. It is written, no partner would be liable on account of any unauthorized or independent actions of other partners. So it means that no partner is having unlimited liability unless and until this condition is there. Okay. So if these conditions will be there, so at least one member should have unlimited liability to pay off the dues. All cannot deny in that situation. Okay. In normal courses, who will say that, okay, I will take the unlimited liability? Nobody can say. Okay. And that depends on the share. The person who is holding the highest number of share, that person can hold the unlimited liability. Okay, in that particular situation. Okay, anybody else? Anything? Anybody? Please go through all these points. Okay, these points are not like that, that whatever you will write, you'll get the marks. All these points you will have to learn by heart. And the same points you will have to write, because we cannot do anything. These are according to the provisions of Partnership Act. Okay, so we cannot write any general answers. We have to write only exactly what it is given under the law, under the Act. Okay. So the time is up now. Okay. So tomorrow I think you are not having any class. You have been informed about that. Okay. So we'll meet on Thursday. Thursday we are having the first period. So we will continue with all these. Okay. Thank you very much.